So, Rabbit Run by John Updike. Okay, I was just itching, itching to read this tetralogy because it's famous, what have you. And the first novel, Rabbit Run, seems to me to be a sort of a prologue, a sort of aperitif before the actual meat and potatoes of what is to come. The first novel is a bit, I wouldn't say disappointing. It in a way, it delivers on its promise. It does exactly what it has to do. Rabbit Run fulfills, its duty, but it still kind of is a bit, what you might call it. Rabbit Run is a bit, I don't know, soft, lacking, a bit vanilla. Rabbit Run needed something more than what it ultimately did. There was something missing. This is what I'm trying to say. With Rabbit Run, something, a special ingredient was not present. And I cannot figure out what this ingredient is, but it's still, of course, it is a good read. I just want to mention that I have read other Updike books, and when it comes to Rabbit Run, it is, by the way, I've already started to read the second one, Rabbit Redux. Okay, and I'm starting to conclude, okay, and this might be a bit premature, but I'm starting to figure out that perhaps this tetralogy, the Rabbit Angstrom tetralogy, is the quintessential novel about the quintessential boomer. Okay, this is what I have discerned so far. This is what the Rabbit tetralogy seems to me. It depicts the sort of lackluster lifestyle of a boomer, Harry Angstrom, Rabbit, and he is not satisfied. He is not fulfilled. His life is kind of lame, and what makes this to me the quintessential boomer novel is not only because he was born in that time, right after the Second World War, but my guy is like 23 or 26 in the first novel, Rabbit Run, and he is already experiencing a midlife crisis at in his early 20s. So therefore, automatically, irrefutably, that Rabbit is the quintessential boomer because he's having a midlife crisis at his peak. But what's even more funny is that Rabbit, I mean, he's almost cliche. He is pathetic in the sense that my guy actually peaked in high school, folks. Not only that, he peaked in high school, and it was all downhill from there. Okay, and not only that, but he has this nostalgic ego trip about his high school days, because in high school, Rabbit was just the god of basketball. Okay, our guy, he was an absolute genius at basketball. And even though he was just brilliant at it, he didn't make a career out of it, whatever. Now as an adult, he has nothing to do with basketball. And you know what really struck me? Whenever there is whenever there was basketball talk in the novel, I was getting flashbacks about Al Bundy and his 4 touchdowns in a single game. I was just like, ain't no way. My guy, Rabbit, is basically Al Bundy. He still thinks that scoring 4 touchdowns in a single game is something serious, something legit, a true accomplishment. I was just, man, there's something about, just, I don't know what it is. Everybody at some point, especially when we were younger, we were just good at something, whatever that thing was. Okay. And we thought this was it. We were on cloud nine. We were just expecting everything, expecting the greatness, expecting the world to open its arms and embrace us, right? And then you get older, you become an adult, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, and it's all downhill from there. So this is what happened to our boy Rabbit. And it's just, I don't want to say that he is pathetic per se, but his obsession with his basketball days is just, it's a bit petty. It's a bit pathetic, And the thing is, right? The thing is that I actually like his character. I think he stands out. Even though he has this ego about him. And even though he has this kind of pathetic side to him, he still stands out. He has a sort of swagger that isn't annoying. Most people who carry themselves in a certain way, most people who have that confidence, most people who are assertive, most people who have big D energy, they're annoying. They don't have any class. And to me, Rabbit Angstrom, he has a certain riz. I don't know what you might call it. He has a sort of charm to him. There are moments when he carries himself like a true champ. Like he is not obnoxious with it. Whenever he rises to an occasion, when he has to give a reply to somebody, a smart reply, or it's just so it rubs me the right way. It tickles me just right. It tickles my feathers the right way. Rabbit, you can tell that he had potential. You can tell that Rabbit was made from different clay than most people. He had a certain spark. There is to this day something special about him, and yet for some reason he is fated or doomed to spend the rest of his life with, let's call them, lesser people, his wife, his in-laws, the people he works with. Let's just say that they are a dime a dozen, riffraff. The hoi polloi, they don't have anything special with them, and yet here we have Rabbit, who has something, a spark, a crumb of something special, and yet, unfortunately, because of circumstances, he just was unlucky, right? And it's, instead of excelling and exceeding his prospects and limitations, he is earthbound. He has to spend his life in just monotony and banality, and I think that is the only actual reason why he decides to just run from his home, from his town. He abandons his family, his wife, his children, his job. I think this is why he does this, is because he has had enough of the boring banality of his life, because he used to be special, and for the last couple of years after graduating high school, he hasn't been so special. So to me, this is why he runs away. This is his midlife crisis at the age of 23 or 26. He just can't handle the fact that his wife is kind of bland. His lifestyle, his house, I mean, I guess he is on minimum wage, a lame ass job, can't stand his family in general, right? Rabbit was meant for better things, for greater things, and something went wrong along the way, and this is just. We can all relate to this because we all thought that we were meant for something great, for something greater, for something grand, and something went wrong along the way. Something just obstacles, hardships, And of course, Rabbit, he hooks up with a prostitute of sorts, and their life is just what you expect. And what's funny is about this novel, Rabbit Run, is that it depicts how life used to be back then. Because back then, you can say that people were pretending, you could say that people were a bit silly and goofy, but people were extremely concerned about your status and reputation in society, in the community, in the neighborhood. So the fact that Rabbit just up and left his family, his wife, his child, society doesn't like that. Society is perturbed. Society is angry at the fact that this married man left his family, abandoned his wife for a hoe. He literally went to the streets, okay? And it's so funny, right? People are upset. People back in the day did not tolerate stuff like this. Today, things are so relaxed, right? And you could say that these were just appearances, but it's so funny. People in this book are talking about, we need to call the police and we need to arrest this man because he abandoned his family, because he left his wife. It's so hilarious. It's the talk of town. People are just gossiping about this, even though their lives aren't, just honey and cupcakes, but it is what it is. So yeah, this is a perfect depiction of how society used to be, in the time of our parents or grandparents in the 50s, late 50s. People were extremely concerned and serious about public appearances. Even though your life was shit, even though your family life, your married life was absolute garbage, you still had to pretend. Otherwise, you would be excommunicated, and they would sick the police on your ass, okay? But of course, this book is funny, but at the end, the ending of Rabbit Run takes a sad, depressing note. It takes a turn for the worse. Because, Rabbit kind of, after getting back with his wife Janice, he kind of leaves again. And because of this, his wife Janice kind of spirals out of control. She starts drinking more than usual, hard liquor, that whiskey, and she just keeps drinking. She keeps drinking, she keeps, wolfing down glass after glass of hard whiskey, and she gets a bit drunker than usual. And this is a big no-no, because being drunk, she decides that it is time to bathe the baby, because they have a new baby girl Rebecca, June, and because Janice is drunk and so upset that Rabbit, her husband, has probably abandoned her again. She's upset that she can already imagine that the people of the neighborhood are gonna make fun of her again because she can't keep her man at home. And she's very upset, and plus she's drunk, and because of this she drops the baby in the bath water, and unfortunately the baby drowns. Yeah. So this is where the novel takes to me, a dark, somber tone, and this is how the novel ends. This tone does not leave this novel, and rightfully so, because it is something to marvel at. You just have to stand in awe, because Updike does an amazing job depicting the grief of these people, especially the grief of Rabbit, because he is our POV character, and he is the father who just lost his baby girl because his wife was just too drunk and she drowned the baby being drunk. And it's just, man, it's a sobering last act in this novel. The ending of this novel is just it leaves you a bit exhausted, because it's so sad. The sorrow, the grief, the mourning, it's almost too much. After finishing Rabbit Run, I was a bit fatigued in spirit. So this is pretty much how the novel ends. The baby dies, they have a funeral, and it's also just, it's almost comical how just barren everything is. And yet again, our boy Rabbit, during the funeral of his baby girl, he yet again has a sort of crisis. He just can't stand the people around him, and he just kind of flees from the funeral of his daughter. Again, he just runs. The only instinct for him is to run away from everything, to run away from his family, from his lame-ass life, from his lame-ass job. A man at his peak in terms of health, physicality, abilities, and he is already experiencing, midlife crisis after midlife crisis. He is just confronted and challenged by the sheer banality of his life. Okay, this is it. And this is why I think this is the quintessential novel about the quintessential boomer, is that Rabbit cannot handle the fact that his life turned out in the lame way that it did. This is it. And his only instinct, his only reflex, his only impulse is to run as far away as his can from all of these people, and all of this disappointment, and all of this misery. Okay. That's pretty much it. I have already started reading the second novel, Rabbit Redux. I'm liking it, and immediately I just cannot stand Janice. Janice is a bit annoying and irritating in the second novel, okay? I'm not a fan of Janice. I need less Janice in my reading life, okay? But again, even though I'm currently reading the second novel, Redux, I'm still expecting something to change the tempo. The pacing needs to shift. I'm expecting something more than just Rabbit's lame life, Rabbit and his adultery, Janice and her adultery, and the historic events that Rabbit has to comment on, like the Vietnam War and the moon landing, etc. I'm expecting something more from this character. I'm expecting John Updike to do something more with these 4 novels and this tetralogy. Okay, I need Rabbit Angstrom to do something. We need a change. You know, this does not mean that I am not a fan of these novels. I'm liking them. They're good, they're fascinating and compelling at times, but something is missing currently. I'm balls deep in the second volume, the second novel Redux, and I'm still detecting that something needs to change. Something else, something exotic needs to be inserted in this narrative for it to become something else, okay? The books are good so far, but they are not masterpieces. These books, as far as I can tell, they have the potential to be a true masterpiece. Because listen, to me, these 4 novels, the Rabbit tetralogy, they are not separate novels. These 4 books are one book, okay? Because like I said, Rabbit Run is just a mere prequel, okay? So I still have high expectations that after the second novel, things will take a turn for the better. Because now, so far, the books are just good. But I am expecting greatness from somebody like John Updike. But that's about it. If you want to support your boy, if you enjoyed this content, I got a few books on Amazon. The link will be down below. If the link does not work, you can search my name, Griffith Samsara. Thanks for watching. Keep on reading good books. See ya.